want to tell you the second important point, incredible chiddush I learned from my Rabbi Yisrael Wilk. Once again, the first one was that we can change our desires. And we explained that to you from the Talars. The second point is that spirituality is actually much more pleasurable than Averos and sin and all that. And of course, when we explain that to you, it's going to work perfectly with the first idea. Because when we learn how to experience as it is more pleasurable, of course, we're going to want it more. Let's explain first, at least on a mystical sense, why that has to be. Because think about it. What is pleasure? What gives us pleasure? What gives us joy? Yeah, of course, that's the million-dollar question, right? The secret of happiness. I'm going to tell you right now, the secret of happiness at no additional charge. Here it is. We are finite beings. We are temporary. We live and we die. It doesn't feel that way, but we do. The greatest source of our pain is our inability to break loose. We're stuck, we're trapped inside of our finite selves. And we have this soul that is thirsting to break out of that, to connect to our infinite source, which is really where our neshama comes from. Ramesh Shapiro would always explain that the word simcha is used in the Gemara Maseches Eruvin and the Gemara Maseches Shabbos to mean to expand. There's something called a tefach seichek, a happy tefach. It means a tefach, which is like a cubit, okay, a measurement, that's a little bit larger than it's supposed to be. It's called a happy cubit, a happy tefach. Happiness is when you expand, you escape your limitations while retaining your identity. When we as finite beings connect to our infinite source, that fills us with joy. We feel expansive, we feel amazing, we feel free. We are all trapped in our bodies, our soul trapped in our bodies. We're desperate to escape. And when we do escape to some extent, we feel joy. And all the fake temporary joys fit into that. Because when a person makes a lot of money, so they feel like, wow, now I'm free. I have all my options open to me. At least for a little while it feels that way. So they feel very happy. When a person gets married, when a person has a child, anytime a person increases their horizon, suddenly more becomes possible. They feel automatically happy. I mean, when you're skiing down the mountain, you feel like, whoa, you feel great. Why? Because you broke the barrier called gravity, called time, called space. You're moving incredibly fast, and your adrenaline is pumping. It feels like you're connecting to something beyond yourself. Well, actually not. You're going to get to the bottom of the mountain, and you're just like kind of stuck at the bottom. You got to take the chairlift back up to the top. What we're really looking for is spirituality, because spirituality is infinite, and we are finite beings trying to break out of that into the infinite. The most simple example is your phone. You know that feeling when your phone, iPhone, or other kind of phone is down to 2%. And you're like, oh no, my life is about to end. I mean, I'm out of power. I'm down to 2%. I can't make phone calls. I can't look at funny videos. No WhatsApping, nothing. Because I lost my charger. I forgot to mention that. I lost my charger, and I'm down to 2%, and I'm stuck. And basically, like, I'm going to be bored. I won't be able to distract myself. Help, right? And then what happens? A buddy walks by, and you're like, dude, do you have a charger for me? And he goes, yeah, sure. He gives you a charger. And you plug it into the wall. You know that moment when you plug it into the wall and like that, you see that lightning bolt charging, and you're like, yes, I'm good. I got power. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make it. Right? That is probably the best mashal we have to the finite plugging into the infinite source of power. That's pleasure. That's happiness. That's joy. That's what spirituality is. Spirituality is, it has to be the greatest pleasure in the world. It's when we, finite beings, plug in to the infinite. Now, if you think about that, well then sin should be the most horrible pain, because sin is when you're just cutting off your connection to spirituality. Hashem said, you do mitzvahs, you connect to me. You do averos, the opposite happens. So why does averos, why does impurity feel so good if it's actually death? And here's an amazing secret. It goes like this. There's this Kabbalistic concept, pretty well-known idea. There's something called nitzotzos, sparks. And some very holy sparks of Kedusha are trapped in something called a klipa, a husk, some kind of shell. Averos are these shells, these klipos of impurity that have trapped inside themselves a very high level of spirituality. These are mystical concepts explained to me by my Rabbi, and so without necessarily understanding how it works, this is the Kabbalah, this is what we received on the mystical level of what's going on in Averos. So you have this very, very powerful, impure force. It's actually poisonous force, but trapped inside it is a spark of spirituality, a nitzotz. When a person engages in Avera, so what's actually they're ingesting poison. However, the spark of spirituality gives them intense pleasure. But the person, we don't realize that the thing that we're enjoying is the spirituality that's trapped inside of it, because as physical beings living in a body, we don't perceive that stuff. So we make a mistake and learn to associate the pleasure with the sin. It's a crazy, crazy trick that the Yetzer Hara has. He has us thinking that Averos are pleasurable, when in fact they are killing us. What is enjoyable is the spark of spirituality that's trapped inside it. What we need to learn how to do, and that's what we want to talk about once again in the next video, is how to reassociate, realign the pleasure where it belongs. The pleasure that we're getting from a sin is really the spirituality. We need to get that pleasure from sparks that are not trapped in tumah, trapped in impurity. We need to get that from mitzvahs, which are sparks that are connected to the infinite source, which is getting that life-giving force in a healthy way, as opposed to the association we already have inside of us, that it's the sin that's giving us pleasure. I'm going to end off with one just very visceral example that just happened to me where I learned this. A few weeks ago, I took my kids on a trip. I was Bein Azmanim, and we went to the Brechat HaMeshushim, right, the hexagon pools. Beautiful, fresh mountain water. It was a long hike, hot, sweaty. Jump into this fresh, amazing, beautiful pool of water. And I brought my goggles. I could go swimming. I spent hours having a great time swimming around. What I didn't know at the time is what the whole country was going crazy about afterwards, that the waters of the Zavatan River and that whole system was contaminated. The Hebrew word for the disease that it causes is achberet. I forgot the English word. It's very, very long and complicated, hard to say, whatever. The point is, about 2 weeks later, I broke out with it. Incredible, incredible. High fever, crazy pain, liver shut down, kidneys turning off. I was stuck in the emergency room with very, very high fever for 2 days. Really wasn't sure if I'd make it back here. Might have been the worst 24-hour period of my entire life. What's amazing about it is that at the time, where I was sitting in this beautiful, fresh, sparkling mountain stream, imagining that I'm doing the most wonderful thing for myself and my family, having this just beautiful time in nature. What I didn't realize is that it was contaminated, it was impure, and it was actually poison. And that's what an Aveira is. We're having a great time. Aveiras feel like they're giving us energy, they're giving us life. But that's only the spiritual spark that's trapped in it. It's actually poison, it's actually killing us. And what I want to be talking about in the next clip is, okay, so how do we start doing this? But before we talk about that, I want to just point out what the Yetzer Hara has done to us. He has us completely hoodwinked, completely fooled about religion. Lots of people walk around thinking that Hashem wants you to suffer in this world. He wants you to, just wait. Say no to yourself. Have a bad time, suffer a lot. Why? So that in the future, next world, some other interesting place, it's going to be great. You're going to have milk and honey. Yay. You're going to be on a cloud with a halo. Yay. You're going to be so spiritual, something we don't relate to. Okay, so suffer in this world, say no to yourself, don't have fun, and this is somehow supposed to be good for us, it's going to build our character. Basically, religion feels like, we described it in the beginning, like reining in a wild, crazy bronco horse. And it's a just exhausting battle uphill. It's not true. It's Lashon Hara about Hashem. It's a terrible thing. It's a fabrication by the Yetzer Hara. The truth of the matter is Hashem loves us. And He wants us to have a fantastic time in this world and in the next world. And what He's hoping we're going to learn how to do is how to enjoy the pleasure of spirituality. So send your email to thetorahcenter@gmail.com. Join our Chabura, our spiritual Tshuva Chabura. We are putting these principles into actual practice, learning how to train ourselves to associate pleasure with spirituality and pain with sin, so that we actually want to do mitzvahs more than sin. Come and join us.